Hello, hello. How are
Hello,
you, Abdul?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Happy Monday. Oh, sorry. You see the magic behind the screen. Right? I'm like the Wizard of Oz. You shouldn't see the background. How is your Monday?
Not too bad. Just getting ready for the stream. So
Okay. Yeah, it's our regular Monday stream, which I thought it's quite nice. Just it's a good start of a week, right? So um, and also, I kind of failed to mention last week, but I think it was good because we were discussing Android. But do you remember what was the significance of 21st of March, 2001?
no,
So on 21st of March, we celebrated 20 years since the OS 10 was released.
oh yes.
So in honor of that, I'm actually wearing my Mac OS Tiger T-shirt.
Nice.
It's the first one I got. I think it must have been 2005, 2006. We used to queue and pay for operating systems. So I
Yes.
actually queued and get the DVD or CD, whatever it was at the time. And I think because I was one of the first 100, I got the free T-shirt. so,
Nice.
so yeah, that's. I thought I'm wearing this today just to kind of celebrate that a bit. And yeah, it's amazing that that lasted for almost 20 years, right, until it got replaced by Mac OS 11.
Yeah.
It's called Mac OS for a start now. So yeah, compared to Mac OS X, as most people will pronounce it.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Yeah, it's been a while. Since we started using Mac OS, and it's always amazing. And then obviously 2007, 2008, you have iOS, and that brings us to today. What we're doing today, right?
Straight line between.
Nice segue. Yeah. But yeah, I think we're just gonna get right into it,
Cool.
and make sure that we cover stuff. So I'll share your screen, right?
Cool.
And then
Oh,
I'll.
just straight into the code.
Sorry. Yes. So
There you go.
okay. So you mentioned that there was a problem with the server. So while you kind of introduce what's happening, I'm
Yeah.
gonna kind of behind the scenes try and give it a kick
Yeah.
and see if it behaves. If it doesn't, that's fine as well.
Yeah. I'm sure it's just Heroku being weird or something. So
Yeah, and also I didn't get to use it in the last week because I was busy with other stuff. So
yeah.
something must have kind of yeah. So I'll do that while you do things. So I think probably the best thing to do, Abdul, is to start with kind of what APIs we're using, what we're trying to do, like a bit of summarize what we did in the last couple of weeks. What sort of APIs we have. If you have that Word document, it might be good to reference as well.
Yes.
Do you want me to send it to you?
No, I've got it
Cool.
somewhere.
So maybe kind of introduce the APIs, and then go for it. And I'll try and see what's happening, because I can see you struggling. I'm seeing lots of requests with 30 seconds response time, which means they're timed out.
Yeah.
So cool. That sounds good.
Cool. I've got this API somewhere. Well, regardless, yeah. So
I'll send
this,
the link to you. Hold on, because I have it in my. Well, it's saved in the browser. I just search for companion, so you can see there. Yeah, the other thing we have with Heroku, the server is in Node, right? So it's JavaScript. So it's not necessarily my area of expertise,
yeah.
but I'm trying to see what is happening and why it's not behaving the way it should behave. But
All right.
fortunately, Roku has a good CLI, so you can
Yeah,
do really good logs and stuff. So, would you like me to share that document?
I've got it. I've got it. I've got it.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Which one is it put on the screen?
Say it again. Sorry.
Shall I put it on the screen? I'm not
Yeah,
sure
yeah. Because we showed
cool.
it previously. So it's what I want is go through that, and because we use it actually on the screen as we build stuff.
Cool. All right. So what we're, I guess, showing today is a iOS client which connects to the server companion that Paul, Dwayne, and Michael have been building the last few weeks. There's a few endpoints that we're going to be connecting to. There's the first set, which is under the authentication. Then we've got the users, which I don't think we currently use. But we have.
Yeah, you can get it, but I think users and conversation you also get as part of a login and sign up, so you don't need to
Correct,
use it.
yeah.
But later on, you might want to refresh it every so often. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Then we've got the conversation stuff. So you've got, I think this one is, it returns the conversation, and there's one to create a new conversation. Cool. Then, so I mean, I'll show in the iOS app later, but the request body and responses, they sort of map onto like a model objects in iOS. So those are codable objects, which lets the Swift compiler sort of synthesize the functions which turn it from JSON to Swift structs and the other way, so from Swift structs back to JSON.
Nice.
So you'll see a lot of these things popping back up again. So here's the first endpoint, which is sign up, which takes name, password, display name, and returns this blob, which is a user object. The tokens is like the WT needed in with the client SDK. Then it returns a list of users and a list of conversations, which so list of users would be, I believe these are all the users in the system.
Apart from yourself, yeah.
Apart from yourself, yeah. Then
conversations
so
are other parties you can have conversations with, yeah.
Yeah, conversations are the conversations which you're, I guess, currently a member of. Then there's also this error type, which I think is the same. So all errors from the API come in the same format, I believe. I guess the invalid parameters is optional.
Yes, and you get different ones based on what's invalid. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Then, well, yeah, you must sign up before you can log in. Hopefully. Then, yeah, so login request is pretty much the same. It's just that you don't pass the display name; you just pass the name and the password, and that returns the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a list of users, which returns the list of users, but we're not using this one. But yeah, you can note now that all the future requests have like a authorization header with the JWT. So these are all behind, the auth part of the app, whether you log in or sign up for the first time. This one returns all conversations, so it's a GET request. I think we use this one to refresh the list of conversations, maybe. Yes. Then, yeah, this one returns a specific conversation, so it's a GET request that takes the conversation ID. Because I think this endpoint does it return all the information about a conversation? This one, or
sorry, which one was that? The list of conversations.
I think this one
returns everything apart from the events in a conversation.
Correct. There you go. Yeah. Then finally, we have one that creates a new conversation. So this is a post. Then it takes an array of users or user IDs to create a conversation. Then if we go into Xcode, I've got a big file here called models. And in this models file, I think it's essentially like a one-to-one mapping with the endpoints. I think at the bottom. So this is the API error. So you have the type, title, detail, and invalid parameters.
Yeah.
Then so yeah, you see this coding keys thing a lot. This essentially, I think the REST convention is to have snake case. Is that what this is called? Yeah. Then, but in I guess C style convention is to have camel case, well, lower camel case.
Yeah.
So this kind of does a mapping from lower camel case to snake case.
Yeah, and also a lot of people kind of were using uppercase and lowercase, kind of combination of them in when you send data, because some systems might be case insensitive. And that will lead to issues. So that's why people are using underscores, or in some cases they use the dash, which is called, I think, kebab case. But underscore is probably the safest because it's treated as part of a name. So yeah, that's the reasoning behind that conversion. The same thing with display name as well.
Yeah, you see that here. Then yeah, so this is the struct for authentication.
Mm-hmm.
Then for convenience, I put the paths of the endpoint which it will hit on the struct. Then so this is the body. So this is what gets sent to the API. So this is name, password, display name. Then this is the response from the API. So it's your current user, your token, list of user, and conversations, as we saw earlier. We'll skip over conversations for now. Here's users. So this, I think, yeah. So this, I think the main reason for this struct is this one, to be honest. But this is basically like the model of a user from the API. So a user has an ID, name, display name. This thing is for this was I didn't actually implement this, but this was supposed to be part of something else. I'll explain later, but I have a list view presentable protocol, which allows me to, so anything that conforms to this protocol up here, so it has an ID and some sort of display name, can be displayed in this list. So I use the same list for the list of conversations and the list of users. So I was going to add a separate field for detail, but I didn't get around to finishing that.
Sure.
Then the conversations one is quite a big struct. So you have the main struct, which is a conversation. So this models a conversation from the server. This also conforms to the list view presentable, so it has an ID and a display name. It has the optional events. So this same struct is used on the authentication. So this is the one without offense, and when you call it again, so it has the events, then a lot of mapping, and this is the struct for events. Essentially, what's happening here is I'm basically namespacing the different structs, just so again it will make sense in a minute, but essentially it just allows you to, I guess, sort of declaratively like just state which type you want, essentially.
I mean, for me, it makes perfect sense, but I'm used to iOS. So.
Yeah. I'll show you. Basically, the reason why that is because of this. So we have this remote loader class. So this class handles any API call to the server, and it's generic over two types. And the first type will be the the body, and the second type will be the response.
So it's basically whatever you send and whatever you receive, right?
Correct. So it takes the path, an optional token, the body, response, and it returns a completion handler. Then inside of here, it's pretty much a standard URL session call, which when it finishes, it will eventually come into here and have to complete with success and the response, and or it completes with the error.
You seem to be using post there, hard coded. So you assume that everything is post, right?
No. So this is it's an if let. So if the body is nil, it won't come into here.
And the default is get, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have a body, just assume it's a get, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I guess like in the future, if you wanted to do updates or whatever, you would have to explicitly say which method you're doing, but that's not really a big deal since request has it as a string anyway, so you can just pass it in and just do it that way. But it's actually quite funny because if you have an optional generic parameter, so this body t hair conforms to codable, you can't pass nil in. That's not because nil could be anything. So you might see I don't know which one would use it. No. Yeah, so here this one is for loading conversations. So this what happens when you like pull to refresh. I have to pass like an optional string of null. So this is doing I think this is the same way of doing it's like doing that. I think that should probably build or not build, but that might work.
Yeah, you don't need.
But it's because string conforms to codable. Then optionals in Swift are just like an enum of none or I believe some.
String.
Yeah.
Some string. Yeah. Wait, that's a clever way to actually do it. Oh, hold on, Igor is joining us.
Cool.
Hey, Igor.
Hey.
How are you?
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. You know, my neighbor started drilling up in my ceiling, so basically, you cannot prepare for that.
That's fine.
Fair enough. Then there's an error enum, which is pretty basic. So if the URL fails to what's the word? Initialize. So there's initializer on URL. There's a URL type. So URL uppercase URL type. So if that fails to initialize, it completes with the failure of URL. If the data
that will not initialize the base URL is basically not a URL. So nothing that can be recognized as a URL, and it just becomes that thing becomes null, and then you have a guard around it.
Yeah,
that's the reason. They shouldn't fail in our case, but it's good to have safety.
Yeah, I was like, well, I needed an enum, so I thought I'll put some stuff in it. I think the second case is when so if the data coming back from the backend can't be turned into a response or an error, then it does the other one, which is the data. So this says that the data that's coming back isn't as expected.
Yeah.
Then another error is the API error. So this kind of just passes on whatever the API
sends back
whatever error.
Yeah. So basically, that checks the conformance of the response to the type that you defined in the ones we saw earlier. For each response, you have a certain structure that you're expecting, both for success and error. And if that doesn't exist, either for those, you go to the final failure data, which is kind of it's a failure of failures, right? So everything fails. Cool.
Then I believe there's so I've got a show error alert here. This is a function that that shows like a pop-up on the screen, and it takes in a string. So that's like it's an extension on UI controller, so you can just call show error alert wherever. Then it's got this main queue stuff here because errors can be thrown either from the back end as we just saw, or just I think there might be some validation checks somewhere. I can't remember.
You might have in the form when you do the sign up, you might have validation that is and it has like a minimum length and things like that. But yeah, cool. That sounds good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So if there's no text in there, it will just show an error. But this happens all on the main thread anyways.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
so that's it, I think, for API related stuff. I guess I can show the list view stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure if you remember. So last June, they announced all these fancy ways of doing table views using the collection view. So this uses the what do they call it?
It's a list view, isn't it?
List view? Yeah, I think list view is what they call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, so this is also generic as well. So this will display any struct that conforms to list view presentable. So it has to have a ID and display name.
Yeah.
And it has to be hashable. The hashable is because the list view stuff does some magic diffing of the data sources. So like, let's say, with the conversation. So like when you like pull to refresh or create a new conversation and you just give it a whole new list of conversations, it won't just like, get rid of the old one and put the new one in. It will like compare the data, and it will like just only do the minimum required changes.
It's nice because it does the whole logic behind the scenes. You don't have to do it anymore like we used to have it back in the day.
So
correct.
This is like similar to Android Recycler view, and like on top of that, probably this could handle things like animations, like when item like appears in the middle of the list, maybe it should like show it nicely.
But you don't even have to compute that. Like you don't need to tell it that this item needs to appear at this index, like we had before with table views. Now it just does that automatically based on the diffs data source.
This is all you do to update it. You just I mean, it's slightly more complicated because of the generic types, but essentially this is the main part. You just apply.
Yeah.
You have a snapshot of data and you just apply it, and it computes the differences.
Nice. That looks nice and clean and simple to understand. And I think the last part you have the cell itself, right? At the bottom.
So this is where the display name from the list view presentable comes. So this means anything, because data, like we're not sure whether data is either a user struct or a conversation struct. But because they both conform to list view presentable and have this display name property on it, we can just call display name. This is why there was the detail thing. I was going to use, I think they have like a subtitle or something. Yeah, secondary text. I was going to do detail here, but I didn't do that.
Cool. That looks good. So that view is to display the conversations, right? After you log in.
Correct. Yeah.
So shall we do a test run and just gonna see how it's working? Because I think we discussed the login and the sign up, and displaying the list, and then we can come back to the code to actually display a conversation itself.
Is login working? I don't think
it should. I logged into the server and it said that there were too many connections to the database, but when I looked at the database, there's 0. I've tried to test it and it works for me, so it should work for you as well. I'm keeping an eye on the server. So
I just sent a request right now. Did you get that one?
No, there's no request coming to the server. Oh, I got a timeout.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Well, we can try.
So, did you send a sign up or a login?
That was a login.
Okay, let me send a login.
We can try a sign up. Oh, I was touching the wrong screen.
Oh yeah, I can see 20 of 20 connections. Why?
Is there a different database for
11 of 20 connections now. Yeah, but I don't understand why we have so many different connections. I tell you what, let me stop the. It might be because of all the events happening.
Oh, we're just syncing?
Yeah, but it shouldn't sync now, because I think that, let me see when we're syncing.
Do you wanna share your screen?
It's not particularly interesting. It's just literally Heroku stuff. So let me get rid of this because it's synchronizing every hour. So that should have happened at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, next due 2 o'clock, which is 3 o'clock. So it shouldn't have happened in the last 30 minutes. But for some reason, we have lots of connections hitting the database. 11 at the moment. So it should. I don't understand why we have so many different connections to the database. Yeah, let me share my screen actually, because it's probably a bit easier.
Good debug session.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want this screen, I think. Well, let me put this here, and this here, and this here. We can share this one. So this is the database. So we're not on the free one. We on the thing, but you can see the timeouts here in the server. And I looked up here, and at some point it said too many connections for that thing. But I don't understand why it's timing out, because I had things working here. See, I got some requests. See, it's only 11 connections to the database, and this is not running now. Let me look at metrics. Yeah, for some reason, this are the timeouts you're getting just now. But the
It's
load
weird
is
because like if I don't pass parameters, it gives me the error correctly, which I assume that's before it hits the database. This
correct.
error.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. If I try, yeah, still timing out.
Interesting.
Oh, it's 20 of 20 now. Something is not right.
Maybe there's a rogue.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There's something coming through here. JavaScript heap out of memory. Oh, it might be me then.
Oh, wow.
There's a recurring thing happening by the looks of it that's causing the whole thing to go. Can you try and sign up with a new user, Abdul?
I can, yes.
Just a completely new user. I'm going to do exactly the same. So I have this thing here. Sorry, Igor, what you're saying?
Maybe we can use existing one, or existing one is failing.
The existing one is failing. So I'm going to use this, and literally it's so the sign up. Yeah, see, it's working. This one is fine. Yeah. So it's a problem somewhere inside the app. And then the login here.
New user worked. Yeah, new user worked this time. So
it's probably with the existing user. I think we might have the same issue we had in the past with the duplication of stuff in the database. Maybe I'm not accounting for something.
Typical in development, right?
Well, this is why you should write tests, right? So
exactly.
Why are there so many users with the same ID? This one is wrong. See how many we have this one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Karen, that's the reason it fails. It should be just one. It should be. I'm not sure why it even exists. So I'm going to delete this.
So it looked like okay.
There's
Yeah, the Abdul stream is the one I just created right at the bottom.
yeah. Okay. So I think there's a problem somewhere. Maybe it's in the synchronization script and it doesn't check properly. Because I think a lot of things happen on the fly as you put stuff in. And it might be that we receive multiple requests. And because it's inserting multiple things, it's inserting a lot of things at the same time. So yeah, let's see how it's working now. I'll switch over to your screen. You need to share your screen again, Abdul. I think you took it off. This is a remote debugging.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're in the app.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it's done a popover.
Are you logged in already?
I am logged in already.
Okay.
So this is what I logged in with. It should have pushed this view controller. I'm not sure why it's popped it, but
yeah.
We fix that later. Yeah, so now we're presenting on top of a presentation.
Yeah.
But anyways, so these are the list of users that came with the from the server when I create the user.
Yeah.
So if I select these two, you create a conversation. Hopefully.
So things are working. Yeah, I can see things happening and events coming in as well. But why is it timing out for you?
Did that time out as well?
No, it didn't time out actually. It returned. Let me see. So you did a post on conversations. Hold on, it's further up. I can't see the output. Yeah, it timed out for some reason on that post. I don't understand why, as this worked last week. And you're looking at the database as well. I'll switch to my screen, and
Cool.
Your screen can stay there. So basically, I can see all the webhooks coming in and all the stuff, right? So you see lots of posts, but your call, this one, the last one, it shows as timed out.
Yeah.
But all the different ones that we receive from the API, from the webhook for the different events. So let me actually connect to the database, which is this one. Unfortunately, I can't make this any bigger because it doesn't seem to work. But if I go to conversations, the data actually I can show it bigger, but it's just not in the. So this is the last one. This is the last one I created just now. It's 29, right? So it's 74 members. Actually, it's based on a conversation ID, not so the conversation ID ends in 4086. Members, it should add the members 4086. So it has 3 members, right? All different, cool. And then the events, it should be all the stuff at the bottom. So where's the conversation? It didn't receive. Oh, hold on. This is page 1 of 9. We have 9,000 events in here, so I can actually select. This is when we are building. So select everything from events, where conversation ID equals, and if we go to conversation. Is it called conversation ID? Yeah. So going here.
I can log in now.
We don't have any events for that. Interesting. So Let me go to the last page. Make sure that I didn't do anything. Yeah, we don't seem to have any. Oh, it's this might not be. Actually, I can. Yeah, I can order by. No, we have some events here.
Yeah, I just sent that one, but there's no member joined.
But why? That's the thing, because we got the calls here, right? We have a joined here, right?
Yeah.
And we got this, and that's the conversation. Interesting. Something is not right. I need to debug this. We might have some different things that I didn't expect. Yeah, because we have it here. We have member join. See this one here. And it returns 200. Although it takes a huge amount of time to actually a second, which is not good. This is half a second. 25. Yeah. Okay. So what can I do to mitigate this? One thing I can do is to actually do the synchronization thing, right? So in here, we have this sync conversations. So in this one, when I do the logs, I can do the same thing, but instead of run logs, instead of showing the logs, I can run this thing. So that should run it in the context of a particular server.
Nice.
Right. So okay, this is where it's failing. I think it doesn't reuse the connection, and this is causing issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it not closing them as well, or?
I thought I'm using the same connection, but for some reason this is different because it worked until now. Something must have changed in one of the libraries, and I didn't see it in time.
That's why we write tests.
With this one, it's a bit harder because you rely on third parties to actually, unless they change how they pass things around.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, like, that's why they say to write those integration tests with third-party libraries, because we cannot test the libraries itself, of course.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so this is what's causing now to be 20 out of 20 utilization. No, it's 1 out of 20 because that's finished. Okay, let's try again. Yeah. So it works for a while. Where was it? Where did it start? Here. It works for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It gets everything in. And then it gets the members. It may also be that we use different threads for this, and each thread is using its own connection to the database, and that's causing issues. So probably we need to serialize it and do it one at a time. Although it doesn't feel like it's in parallel, it feels very much serialized. And then after a while, it just bombs out. So let's see if we get any data for this. Okay, so we have member joined, but only 2 of them. Okay, I'll need to, obviously it doesn't work properly, so I'll need to spend a bit more time trying to understand what's happening in there. But that's the gist of it, I think.
Yeah.
When you get lots of things, well, first there are 2 main problems. One is in the logs, because it's, sorry, I need to scroll to actually go to the logs. One is when you create the conversation, for some reason it doesn't insert it in the database. So when you get something like this, something must have happened and it doesn't record that. And secondly, there are too many connections to the database in the script. Okay, Cool. I'll go back to the screen, Abdul, and see what we if we can use that conversation for what it is for now.
Yeah, so so this is a login screen. We've got this login view controller, which is essentially there's two text fields and login button and the new user button. I created the V text field, Vonage text field, but it's just a styling, just to save me doing it. So I'm not used to tabs yet. And it's actually it's in a stack view because the layout code got a bit lengthy. So plus it's quite a simple layout, so it didn't make too much sense to do it outside of a stack view.
So what is the stack view?
Let me show you. It's essentially like a.
For you, it's obvious, right? For both of you, I'm like coming from Android and thinking, okay, like what is that?
We don't want to show you this because it's too cool.
It's essentially a container. So this whole thing is a stack view. Then I basically only have to manage the layout of this container in relation to the view. Then internally it does magic for you. So you can you set which way you want it to go. So you can do vertical, horizontal. Then you just give it spacing. So as you can see, I've told it to stack vertically, and I've given it some spacing. Then as long as the elements inside have an intrinsic size, so like as long as the size of them can be worked out, it all kind of works for you. So I believe these two have fixed heights, which is fine because it's one line of text.
And the buttons have fixed height as well.
Then
what it becomes really interesting, Igor, is when you try and you go the other way, right? So you have outside determined and you intrinsically find stuff for the inside. So imagine you have a stack with different things, but only certain items need to grow in certain directions. So this kind of allows for that, and then you have scrolling involved. But it allows things to grow kind of nicely in different ways. And you can have stacks inside stacks. So as long as you follow the rules, you can go as deep as you want, and you can build some really nice interfaces. Where it becomes really interesting is when you use SwiftUI and actually design it on the screen at the same time. So you have a code on the left and the output on the right, and you can see as you add code, you can see things changing on the right.
Nice.
And there is a Z stack as well. You can put one on top of the other, so it's basically layers.
Oh, nice.
So you have X, Y, and Z.
You can do that. This is the view debugger.
This is cool. This is cool. Okay.
It's very rare that you can actually use it with purpose, but it does look cool.
Also, if you select an item on the left from that tree and then put the properties on the right, you can see properties in real time.
Yes.
That one,
That one.
Yeah. So it tells you exactly what it is. So if you select a text field, for example, it tells you how big it is, what sort of things it has inside. I think if you go to the second or the third item at the top in the properties, it tells you different things about it. That's over there. So it has different things that you can have in there. It tells you the fonts, and basically it's like an inspector. Yeah.
As you can see,
it's from the console as well. So if you put a breakpoint, you can see it in there and kind of highlight it and modify it. And
cool.
Yeah, it's quite cool. We used to actually back in the day we used to have a third-party tool that was doing that 3D stuff, and Apple literally just copied that and put it into Xcode. But that was a third-party plugin that you had to install.
Nice of them.
The new user screen is essentially the same thing. It's just text fields and the stack view, and it has just one button this time.
Yeah. So this is what we're saying. Can you go back to the when we're saying about the navigation, Igor? So you're seeing here, in order to go back, there is only one way to go back, right? You either tap on the button or you scroll the screen from the left, which is exactly the same action.
Mm-hmm.
But effectively, that button at the top is a cancel button, right? So you can treat it as a cancel button. And this is how you pass data one way or the other through the thing, through segues. So it's a bit easier to do it than in Android because you have everything in kind of one place, and you just by having a contract between two different views or view controllers, because each controller has its own structure, so you know exactly what you get. When you write that segue code, you know what to expect. So you can say if this is a segue and the output, the destination is this type of view controller, pass this data in. So effectively, as long you can have any number of screens, as long as they have that signature, that footprint, you can pass data in however you like. But yeah, the V app at the top, with the left arrow, that's effectively a cancel button.
Well, I actually didn't use segues for this because I'm not a big fan of the API, because I believe like in the receiving view controller, like you need like a strong reference to the data being passed in or something, right? Then I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I haven't been a big fan of the segue API. So where is it?
Sorry, my dog is barking. Probably hear him.
That's all right. Well, we'll see. Like I'll log in here, and this should hopefully take us to the conversation.
That worked.
So now we're on this conversation list view controller. Then like the key part here. So I have a custom initializer, which takes the response from the API.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did this over using the segue API. But the perks of doing it this way is that you can, I guess, you kind of lose the relationship between screens, but then conversely, you can put screens anywhere. So as long as I have this type here, I can chuck this view anywhere I want. So this view has that list view controller that we were showing earlier. I guess we can go into the view debugger again. So if I do this, where is it? Yeah, so we've got a list view controller, which is taking up the whole screen essentially.
Yeah.
Then inside of that, we have our list of cells. Then we have just this button here to be able to create a new conversation. Then if I resume, then you can create a new conversation here. I won't do it because I'm scared. But assuming you create a new conversation, it dismisses this screen and it pops into here.
Yeah.
Then this is so I mean, yeah, pretty similar to the Android app from last week. Then this, I think this is just a text view. I think same as Eagle's.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned last week, Eagle, like if we wanted, I could probably like reuse that list view controller here because it's generic. So I can probably just, as long as one of these conforms to presentable, you can put it into here. Then yeah, as you said, you can say some go to left, some go to the right, for example, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And you can pull to refresh to get conversations. I think you did the same thing.
Is it now in iOS 14? When you go to a text field, does it automatically go up to kind of avoid the keyboard? Or you still need to take care of that? No,
I'm not sure. I mean, I put my own handling in.
Command Shift K, I think you need. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I can delete the code that handles that and see if that works.
I'm just curious because I think they added something recently.
Yeah, I think it was Swift UI only. I think it was.
Oh right.
I can't remember.
Right. Okay.
I still believe it does require.
Maybe it's just Swift UI because they did something clever there where they see.
That shouldn't be happening.
What happened there?
I'm editing the text field. Ignore that.
Oh, the one at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, it should. Where is it? That shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Chat. So this is a chat view controller.
Yeah, it needs to be read-only.
Oh, is that a thing?
I think so.
Or I don't know. I usually just do that.
Yeah, but that means you won't be able to scroll.
That's true.
I think it's read-only, if I remember correctly. Hello, Michael. Michael is saying that can you make a new rule? Anytime a build fails, you has to do 5 pull-ups with a bar behind him.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's not read-only. What is it? It's UI text field, right?
Yeah. Is editable.
Editable is false. Yeah.
There you go.
It's editable. Yeah, that's one.
There you go.
Yeah, which makes sense because you edit it, right? It's not read-only. But
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think this. Yeah, so this screen is actually where we use the Nextmo client.
Yeah.
Because so we've got so two operations will kick off at the same time. We get the conversation via the Nextmo client, then we also decorate the existing conversation. So this function calls the API again to grab the events.
Can you go back a bit?
Oh, sorry. What to here?
So what's the difference between get conversation and decorate conversation?
Yeah, that's badly named, but this should probably be like API decorate API conversation or something like that. So this one just calls the
because we need to download the conversation from the API to access or listen for events.
And I thought get conversation does that, but get conversation is literally getting the conversation from the client SDK.
Yes.
Well,
okay.
So we have Nextmo conversation, we have API conversation.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. That looks good. I think it's fairly straightforward to build it. It's probably a bit less code than on the Android side of things, but it's fairly straightforward. Any question, Igor, on this?
I think it's really similar to Android,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So got the idea.
Cool. Michael is saying if he would do the coding, you would get ripped. Actually, Michael, what was the record of number of mistakes were made in your mistakes were made? Is it in the hundreds or thousands? I'm joking.
Well, actually, here's a good function showing the remote loader thing. So this is the completion handler that you will call.
Yeah.
Let me do that.
It's nice because you have both a success and a failure in there, and I think it's fairly easy to understand. What you get. And this is where optionals are actually really nice, and being able to have enums with payload, it's really nice in Swift.
Yeah, I guess technically this line here is technically incorrect because this will stop because when this class is initialized, it starts the loading spinner.
Mm-hmm.
And when this returns, it stops loading spinner, but the client SDK call could technically take longer.
True. And also, do you have a dependency between one and the other? So
Yeah. You just need it for different things, right? You just get because you use it only for sending and receiving new messages, right? The conversation from a client SDK.
But
you still want the conversation just to get all the
I guess to be correct, you would technically want this to come back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you need it as a delegate as well. You need to set yourself as a delegate as well before you send any texts.
Yeah, I mean there's I guess there's many ways of fixing it. I guess if you're using something like dispatch key or something, I guess because this one doesn't really return anything, I guess neither of them return anything. So I guess you'll need some sort of flag somewhere to say we're both done or something. Just
So usually what I'm doing, I'm having this method verify whatever, and then I'm calling this method when one is loaded and the other is loaded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then this is the massive process events. Well, I guess it's not that big. I've written I've written bigger sort of chain of functions before. But yes, this is what I mentioned to you, Paul, because sometimes the events or users isn't unique, and luckily Swift has initializers on set, which takes an array, and on array, which takes set. So that kind of.
But like this shows me, because I'm doing exactly the same thing on Android, and like this shows us that for each event we should have like default way of displaying it, which would be like in user acceptable form. Because now we have multiple types of events, and like we're doing those switches, and we like checking and formatting those strings. But like if you would have a default way, then like the entry level for SDK would be just nicer.
Yeah, I like previous places I've worked before. There's always been like a tug of war between having the clients manage data and having the backend return it in like a presentable manner. I think for something like the events, that will probably be a case where the backend will make sense to return it in a. It depends, I guess. If you were showing like the date, like mine doesn't show the date, but I think on your I keep touching the wrong screen. On your list here, you have the date, right? So you want the client to format the date so it's in the correct.
Yes. But even so, right? This can be like a kind of, because the SDK doesn't have to be like just this thin pass-through layer. It can be a wrapper that actually adds small bits like this, for example, right? So you can format the date using the system settings.
You shouldn't do that, because you need to localize it for each client. So you don't know what the client expects and what they want to display. So
but what I'm saying is just you have this like default value to make it like to kick off it faster, and most clients kind of expect that the data is from using system settings.
That's technically what we've done here, right? So this string here is I guess presentable from the backend. So
correct.
So the backend could just prepend conversation with, then return the existing.
So the name that's in the database is actually a system name. It's NAM and then a random string. And what we do there is we look at all the members and kind of create a string with all the members' names. I'm not sure why it says Paul, comma Igor. It should say Paul and Igor. Or maybe we didn't get that far, because so if you have three others, you'll say Alice, Bob, and Charlie. But maybe we didn't do that part yet, where we have and the last one instead of comma. But yeah, that's the idea behind it. The same thing with the events. We don't want to, although technically you can use the client SDK to get all the events, for pagination, all the other stuff. We don't necessarily want that, because we want to display the same events in all clients, and that logic, rather than being in each client, can be on the server and having implemented just once. So that's the reason. Probably it's a bit simpler to do it like that, rather than expecting the clients to do all that pagination with events and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of what the aim was. So yeah, so I need to take some stuff for homework. So the server, and I'm not sure what's happening there, but I'll need to revisit the code and kind of understand what's happening. I think we're in a good place. So we're going to have this and the Android merged into the main branch probably at some point this week or next week. Next week we won't have a show per se, because it's bank holiday in UK. So we'll skip next Monday. So but there's some other things that I want to show you. And I was hoping that we're going to have something else to do with Flutter and iOS this week, but it didn't happen. So we'll have to reserve that for the next time. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to share my screen, Abdul, if you don't mind.
Cool.
So a couple of things that happened last week. Well, first of all, lots of blog posts. So I think we had lots of them. The first one, well, the latest one, if you go bank holiday, we don't work for a bank. Yeah, technically we all work for a bank. It's just not our bank. Yeah, they call it, well, technically it's not a bank holiday, it's a public holiday because of Easter. So Friday and Monday are public holidays in UK. So we have the video client SDK, a new version out. There are a couple of blog posts to do a video as well, so open source video conferencing. But there are some other good things with Messages API, for example, this one with WhatsApp and the GraphQL, how, building bots for hospital beds. I think this one we discussed last week, the loudness detector for video APIs. It's quite clever because if it detects that you send too much sound in terms of amplitude, it just mutes your connection. So if you have someone shouting in the background, it automatically mutes the connection, which is clever. And there's this one, Android and Python. I think this is with the Messages API as well, as far as I remember. But yeah, lots of good blog posts and other things happening. We were last week. We were at CityJS conference in London, so we're doing lots of events, and you can see us on the community page here. You can see the events we're doing. So we're going to do like Wagon Tokyo and some of the .NET ViewConf US. Fun fact, ViewConf US is actually the last conference I went to last year before the pandemic started. So,
Nice.
yeah, it was beginning of March last year. And some of the we're doing a Python Philippines, and I'm not sure what this is. But there are lots of different events we're part of and we're sponsoring, and you can come and see us and talk to us one-to-one, and we can get you started with other things. We are streaming a couple more times this week. So it's us today. We have a dev lunch tomorrow with Nareen, and she's gonna have a spotlight author with her talking about a blog post that she did. And I believe Michael is doing some more mistakes on Wednesday. Is that right, Michael? We had the work converting the video API accelerator packages into TypeScript. So Michael is probably going to continue doing that on Wednesday. And I think that's it for this week. And as ever, we are extremely grateful for everyone that apparently Michael doesn't limit his mistakes to Wednesday, but Wednesday you do them in public, right? Cool. And again, for Voyager's program, this is an ongoing program. If you want to get early access to some of our APIs, you get kind of behind the scenes, you get to participate into some of the internal stuff. For example, in I believe 2 weeks, I'm doing a workshop with a client SDK and the conversation API for the Voyager specifically. So you get that sort of things up front. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell. And I think there's some commands in the chat. I think this is one of them, Voyagers. And they spotlight. There you go. Lots of different way to get in touch with us and for us to help you as well. Cool. Any last thoughts for today, gentlemen?
No, just thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Michael, for keeping us company in the chat. Yeah, it's been quite interesting. So we got to the point where we now have a server and both iOS and Android. So next time, we're going to have the other client that we left behind, the JavaScript client, integrate with the backend. So until that time, thank you so much. Have a good week. Hope we initialized your week in the right way. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy your time off if you have time off. See you.
See ya.
Bye.
See you.